The brain is beautiful.
My name is Ryan, and I am the director of Body Art Training Studios. We are a PTBT, which stands for Physical Therapy-Based Training Approach to Injury Prevention, Pain Reduction, and Sustainable Longevity. And with that in mind, we realized that in order for something to make a difference, it's so important that it's universal, B, it's relevant, and 3, it's accessible, okay? And so the exercises that I'm going to be showing you tonight are ways that we can actually integrate movement with the brain. So one of the things that we do in body art is facilitate what we call biopsychosocial experiences. What does biopsychosocial mean? It means that when we think about your body, it's not just the arms and the legs, it's also the brain. It's also understanding the effect that your environment has on your mental health, on your physical health. Because one conversation that Gabby and I have had for a long time is brain health is body health is brain health, and the environment around it is going to facilitate both of those, whether it's post-trauma or prevention, okay? So with that being said, the first exercise I'm going to show you is something that we do to help facilitate the connection between the brain and the body, okay? So I want you to imagine something that we all have a lot of experience with, right? Which is your cell phone or your tablet, right? And then there's also the cloud, which is where the information is stored, okay? And we've all had the very frustrating experience of trying to download something or upload something when there's one or no bar of Wi-Fi service, correct? And then what happens when all of a sudden you click on the 5G and now all of a sudden information is traveling very quickly, right? Uploads, downloads, very quick, right? So what you can think about is the cloud being the brain, and the physical device being my physical device, and the Wi-Fi being the breath. So the first exercise is very simple, and I want you to just put your hand or hands, whatever you prefer, on your thighs, and then from here we're going to bring it up to the chest. We're going to push it forward, and then we're going to let it float up and float down. Very simple. And if you want to do it with both hands, you breathe into the chest, you push it forward, you take a little stretch, and then you float down to the thighs. Ready? Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Inhale to stretch. And exhale to release. Yes, breathe in. And breathe out. And it's important that you do this exercise in a way that feels good. Yeah, so some people like to keep a little bend in the elbow. And again, I'm such a fan of customization. Everybody wears pants and shirts, but they all look different, right? Take a nice breath in, and then exhale, release. And now try it with your eyes closed. Inhale to the chest, exhale, push, inhale, stretch, and then exhale. Do that 3 times by yourself, breathing in and breathing out. One more time, inhale to the chest, exhale, push, inhale, stretch, and exhale, release. And I'm so glad that we have time for question and answers later, because there's a lot of really interesting information that's happening in this simple exercise. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale, stretch, and exhale, and release. Good. So now that the brain and the body are starting to connect in a way that is facilitated with the breath, I want to touch a little bit on the relationship between pleasure and adversity. Okay? So our bodies and minds are neurologically wired in such a way that we are very consistent with things which bring us pleasure. Just ask anybody who works at Starbucks. Every morning, they got the whole line of people who are like, this is what I like, and I like it every day, and I get the same thing every morning because it gives me pleasure. Okay? And there's so many different examples of things which give us pleasure that we are very consistent with. So this is the first part. We understand that we are naturally inclined toward things that give us pleasure. We're very consistent. And consistent is a very important part of putting in the work, right, Mr. Kyle?
Yes.
In order for us to put in the work, we need to be consistent. So understanding the power of pleasure is very important. This is why I say it's important that you do exercises that feel good. Now, on the other hand, we also understand that adversity has allowed our species and our brains to survive for hundreds of thousands of years. How is this? Well, understanding that if the environment is a little bit too comfortable, certain gene proteins get turned off, okay? And this is why we have to have a whole other conversation, but there's a gene protein called mTOR, there's another one called AMPK, there's another called sirtuins, and these brain proteins get turned on when there's a little bit of adversity. And when we understand that a little bit of stress is really beneficial. Not too much stress. This is called distress, right? This is like me waving an SOS, right? But we want a little bit of stress. So Kelsey has so kindly allowed me to use her as a very beautiful guinea pig. And I'm going to show you an exercise that we do in a body art class that is designed to give Kelsey just a little bit of stress, okay? All right. Here we go. So, very simple. And if you want to do this exercise, oh, the party's arrived. All right. So, Kelsey, take your right hand forward and then swing to your left hand. Very simple. Right side and left side. Let's go a little faster. 1, 2, 3. Now, Kelsey, you're going to continue just like this, okay? Just turn your head from side to side. And if you're sitting on the ground, you can do the same exercise with your shoulders. Touch 1, 2, 3. Yes, again, it's all about adaptability and customization. Good. Keep going with the swing. Plus Y, we think and reply. X plus Y, we think and reply. 2 plus 2, think about it. What's the answer? 2 plus 2, think about it. What's the answer? Good. 3 plus 4, think. Good. 7 plus 5, think. 7 plus 5, think. 7 plus 2, think. Good. 2 plus 5, think. Good. 10 plus 10. 20. 20 plus 5. Good. 25 minus 10, think and. Good. 15 plus 2, think. 17 plus 3, think. Good. 100 plus 100, think. Fantastic. Good. So this is a way that we can actually, yeah, you're good. Fantastic. Good. So this is a really fun, interesting way that we can actually stimulate something which we like to call BDNF. BDNF is a protein that can actually stimulate the production of new brain cells, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Again, it's a whole other conversation. Please ask me about it because I can talk about it all night long. But when we include a little bit of complexity, neural complexity, with some physical intensity, and then we add in a little sprinkling of verbal cognitive function, the brain goes, whoa, this is some stress in a good way that allows us to stimulate some of these biomechanic responses that can then have this really beautiful effect, right? So, with that being said, the last thing that I want to talk about is understanding that accessibility and relevance are so important to allowing us to be consistent, because if it's not fun, the exercises, as beautiful as they may be, don't really make the impact that we're looking for them to make. It's got to be fun. It's got to be something that you look forward to doing, right? So I think about a beautiful story that happened a few years ago. There was a guy named John Stone, and John Stone worked in advertising, and he was super passionate about beer and cigarette commercials. And he was really good at it, yeah. So they said, John, you gotta come on and work on this project. And he goes, I'm not really doing things for kids. And so what they were able to do was, she said, look, I'll give you any budget and you can work with whoever you want. So he said, okay, I want to work with these two guys. They're doing super subversive dark comedy with puppets. His guy named Jim Henson, and like they're really, really dark. She goes, I don't care who it is. And what they were able to do was actually reimagine children's television. And what I want to do is reimagine movement in a way that makes it accessible for people, right? Because unfortunately, and this is just the reality, when we think about exercise, and we think about movement, we are now living in a culture where the words burn, whip, torch, rip, cut, shred, crush, grind, smash, beat, kill have been adopted by the movement or the exercise or the fitness world. The subconscious messaging is that your body is a lazy slave that needs to be punished. So we need to reimagine movement in a way that makes us say, you know what? What did I think about movement when I was a kid, and how can that actually help facilitate my brain health? So, with that being said, any questions? Well, so I'm going to echo something that Kyle said at the very beginning, right? There is no right, there's no wrong, right? And I'm very much pro anything that gets people moving. However, I will say this, there's a very, very interesting study that was just released a few weeks ago from Duke University. There's a researcher named Herman Poncer. I encourage everybody to check it out. And basically, very, very similarly to what we were talking about with Nick, who's going to be coming up in a second. Nick, where are you at? Why can't I see? Oh, there we go. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of data goes unresearched because of certain financial obstacles and roadblocks. But anyway, he was actually given the go-ahead and green light to run a study where there's actually only one way to accurately measure how many calories your body is expenditure. It's called TEE, total energy expenditure. There's only really one way, and it has to do with drinking a specific type of oxygenated water. And then you measure the ratio of oxygen in versus you pee, and then this tells you exactly how many calories your body burned, right? And this experiment had never actually been run over a large sample set because it's expensive. And he got a grant and he did it. And what they found, it just got released, he's probably going to win the Nobel Prize, is that regardless of your body composition, regardless of things like age, we all burn approximately the same amount of calories every day. What? So there's an old model called the Additive Model, which says, okay, I burn 2,000, but if I'm extra active and I really like push my body and I do all this kind of crazy stuff, then I'm going to burn more and more and more and more. And that's actually not what the body's doing. What the body is doing is says, if you are an active lifestyle person, we're going to reallocate some of the calories and give it to your butt. We're going to reallocate some of these calories and we're going to give it to your glutes. And we're going to reallocate some of these calories and give it to your bicep because they need it. And if they're not being used, then we give those calories to things like chronic inflammation. We give those calories to overactive immune function. We give all of the calories over here to chronic hypertension. And so what the body's actually doing is very intelligent. It's just reallocating the calories. So what does that mean? It means that we need to, A, find movement that feels so good. Not movement that, again, reinforces this idea, what I call the punish mentality. That's the first thing. The second thing is what we found with regard to weight loss, because that's something that people always ask about. The most important thing is looking at the quality of your food, making sure that the food is nutrient dense. That's the main thing.